Hello, everybody. It's Okta, and there's a lot of craziness happening in the market. Really, really wild stuff. Thank you all for joining. And today we're going to talk about risk on frenzy, cuts, rate cuts, what's going on in the crypto world, what's going on in the AI world, what other chaos is happening. And remember, everybody, this is, I would argue, a once in a lifetime run in the markets between the good times we've had since late 2022 in crypto to now this AI revolution. You've got to be in both. I'll say it again, because some people are not in both and have no exposure. But AI in particular is a revolution in industry. Trillions of dollars are coming in. The growth is extraordinary. And I've been watching markets for 35 years. I've never seen anything like this. So let's get into the story. Thank you to Shoni, TND Tessa, DBF 430, Rock Lobster, and so many more. I'm going to take my time today because this is a big, big story. And this is called Moonvember Madness. We'll get to why that is. And of course, never financial advice. And a big thank you to AH6289. I love reading the Substack articles you do, able to digest a lot of information real quickly. I'm a Patreon member too, and it's a great way to keep up with everything that is happening. Thank you. And thank you too. By the way, I just checked. Substack is nearly at 30,000 subscribers. Of course, only a fraction pay for it. The rest is free. You might as well just get it for free and have another summary of all the information that you need to know, because the world is changing very quickly. Let's get into the ugly news first of all. This one, and I've shared this before and people groan, but it's very important. There is a direct correlation between the amount of power a nation generates and the GDP. If you don't generate power, you don't generate wealth. That's it. That's all she wrote. China generates a ton of power. USA is beginning to peak up, but nowhere near the rate it should for this revolution that's at hand. Everybody, if you're in the power business, or if you look at power stocks, they've just been incredible. It's beginning to bleed over now into Bitcoin miners as well. And what else we got? Yeah, this is ugly news. The labor market, again, since November 2022, we've been saying that AI is coming, is going to disrupt a lot of things. And we're beginning to see kind of the big hits coming. UPS, which is like a mail service in the US, private mail service, 48,000 employees cut. Amazon, 30,000 employees cut. Intel, 24,000 employees. Nestle, 16,000. Accenture, 11,000. Ford, 11,000. Novo Nordisk, the Wegovy company, 9,000. Microsoft, 7,000. PwC, 5,600. Salesforce, 4,000. Paramount, 2,000. Target, 1,800 employees. Kroger, 1,000. Applied Materials, 1,144. And Meta, 600. And this is on this just over the last couple of weeks. So most of it today, actually. The two top ones are today. Be careful out there. If you have a job, hold on to it. If you believe it's at risk, prepare and become an asset allocator. Again, it's all part of the preparation. Some people don't like to hear bad news, but it's important to be prepared. Forewarned is forearmed, as they say. Bad news, ugly news. First of all, rating agencies do not understand Bitcoin. Strategy was assigned a B- credit rating. Now, that's okay. They're like 10% debt, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it was good enough for the rating agents to say, this is all because they hold Bitcoin and we don't understand Bitcoin. So take that with a grain of salt. The positives are for this one, for MicroStrategy, it's the first company that is a digital asset treasury company to receive a credit rating. So not bad. One day, rating agencies will figure out that Bitcoin is pristine collateral, and this will all go away. So in the meantime, hold tight. Other bad news too. Berkshire Hathaway, the first time that I can remember in a very long time, they got downgraded by KBW, citing Buffett's succession and many other issues, including the amount of cash they have and no clear direction, and maybe because they're not really exposed to AI. And of course, Buffett has his ways. He's a value investor and has missed a lot of good stuff over the past couple of years. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I said, wow, with all that cash he has, if he deployed into Bitcoin / MicroStrategy and Tesla at the lows, I think Tesla's at 106 and Bitcoin is at 16K, etc. MicroStrategy is $160. That's before the split, which is $16 now, by the way. And this is like less than 3 years ago. He could have been a complete legend, but he missed. And that is part of the fear where you don't understand what's coming. It's important to take the time to understand so you can be part of it. Okay, and don't just stick your head in the sand. And let's look at an opportunity that he missed out on Microsoft. About 20 years ago, they had the opportunity to invest in Microsoft. And they do regret this. They rue the day. But even with Warren Buffett being very good friends with the vaccine guy, Gates, or whatever his name is, it was wild. They passed up on that opportunity. But this is a chart, a pair chart of Microsoft compared to Berkshire Hathaway. It's nearly 5x over the last 20 years. If they dumped what they were going to, like I think it was about $5 billion into it, they would have made an absolute fortune. They would have 53x their money, in 20 years. Anyhow, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But it's important to have exposure to the winning assets. Remember, 0.3% of all assets make all the returns. Okay, it's not even the top 1%. It's like a third of 1%. Remember that, everybody. Be very picky when it comes to investing. Let's get into the good news. And I want to say one thing to Rock Lobster for a second. Rock Lobster said the mod shared this with me. James is the man. I've learned more about finance from him that I have my whole life. I don't know why they don't teach that poop in school, but thanks, dude. It's very important. Math and finance, two most important skills. And of course, being able to work with your hands, very important too. I still get down and dirty and work with my hands and fix dirty pipes and everything else. And it also helps ground you too. But let's not digress. Let's get back to the story. Let's look at Bitcoin over the last 7 days, or everything against Bitcoin. It's been pretty rough with the exception of hype, rebounded, a little Litecoin action, a little Hedera. They were excited about a potential ETF as well coming up, but the rest was kind of red. In fact, the market is, as I look now, a little bit red too. Bitcoin shot up to, literally, Bitcoin was at 116K a few minutes ago almost. Now it's 113K. It swings, but remember, these are small movements. Okay, when we see Bitcoin tank $5,000 and go, oh my God, it's crazy. But remember, that's only 3 or 4%. Anyway, let's check in on where we are and talk about, we're just up ever so slightly for October. In fact, right now, with the way the market is, we could be down a fraction or at break even. But I want us to look ahead to Moonvember because we have a lot of tailwinds and people are still very negative. And of course, October is supposed to be one of the best months of the year. I think it's the 4th best month of the year, always called Uptober. But this month has been pretty sucky, only up 1%. There's a couple of things you can construe from this chart. Is first of all, November is the best month by far for crypto historically, up an average of 40.5%. Will history repeat? I don't know. But the other thing that's important, if October is positive, literally all the time after that, with, let me see, couple of exceptions. Well, it's probably not a good example. But anyway, the point is there were bear markets and there was other situations happening. But Moonvember should be good. And I'll get to some of the reasons why in a minute too. But fear and greed for crypto is 50. It was 30 last week when I did this. Money flow, digital assets, turned positive again, nearly $1 billion in, and there is improving investor confidence in the markets. Everything is risk on. Things are breaking new all-time highs. S&P 500, NVIDIA, ton of stuff just keeps going up and up and up. People can't figure out why. But let's talk about ETF flows for a second because this drives a lot of the Bitcoin action. Shout out to Axel as well. And this model shows how closely Bitcoin's price actually aligns with the price it should have been based on money flows into the Bitcoin ETFs. I remember when the ETFs first came out, I used to laboriously calculate the correlation between ETF flows and price with a 2-day lag for months and months and months. And I calculated about 78 to 82% of the price of Bitcoin is determined by the ETF flows. It's an institutional game right now. It's not a retail game. But when you look at this, what's important, the gray dashed line represents the fair value. Based on the current ETF inflows, we should be at 128,400, which calculates again from ETF flows. On the high side, 140K, and we are below that. So that being said, Bitcoin has room to run, and we can look at October so far compared to September. September is a positive month. October is even more positive. The ETF flows have not gone down, so technically we should be at 128,400 per axles model. Another good news too, for those of you who like gold, this is the volatility of Bitcoin versus gold. And Bitcoin's quarterly volatility has nearly matched gold with only a 0.2% spread. And this basically, to some people, means it's another factor where Bitcoin is becoming digital gold. The volatility is almost the same. Although gold has been had pretty wild volatility over the last year as well. That must be said too. Let's look at flows by assets. A couple of head scratchers here. Bitcoin pulled in 931 million. Ethereum down 170 million. Big sell there. I know Bitminers is buying it up, Tom Lee's firm. Then Solana, 29.4 million. They took a bit of a pause because they knew the ETFs are coming this week. I expect this number to be huge next week. And I'll say it here now. When we come back and look at this next Tuesday, that should be north of $100 million. And I will bet my hat on it. We shall see. We shall see. And I know Solana's weak. Yes, I know that. XRP, 84.3 million. I mean, what are people thinking? It's got 20,000 users. It makes $1,200 in fees. It's like the weirdest thing ever. But anyway, mysteries never cease to exist. AltSeason, still a little bit on the Bitcoin side at 43. Nothing big there. And of course, it's still Zcash over the last 90 days, up nearly 700%. Madness. Everything else kind of flat to down. So it hasn't been, it's been a weird fall. Normally September can be bumpy. We didn't get that. We got a positive September. And October is normally up. We're slightly up. So it looks like everything again is different this time. Another view of crypto, though, over the last 7 days, it tells you a different story. Hype is number 1, Zcash number 2, Pump is number 3, Hedera number 4, Bitcoin Cash number 5. Some of these things on this list are weird. They shouldn't be there. Tron had a bad week, and that's bizarre. They lead the space in, I think they're number 3 in fees after Hype and Solana right now. And I'm not sure why they got hit. Big stablecoin player there. And everything else kind of still positive. Only 2 names over the last 7 days were negative. Despite what you may feel out there, it has been a recovery week. The latter part of October is always better than the first part. That has been clear. So at least that pattern is working. And shout out to the short-term holding whales in Bitcoin. They are back in black or back in the green, whatever you want to say. They got above their realized price of 112,000. Bitcoin's about 112,700 right now. And that's a key level of support. When that realized price is achieved, and this cohort own about 1.2 million Bitcoin, they're no longer underwater. They are in profit. And again, short-term holder whales, big bags over 1,000 Bitcoin a piece. And this is a key psychological shift for the market. Again, when the short-term holding whales jump in and then they get hammered, sometimes they sell and make things even worse. They're not doing that this time. And a little bit of a hopium chart of the day. It's time for Bull from AO. He looked at all the previous cycles, 2011 to 2022, 2012 to 2023, 2012 to 2024, 2013 to 2025. Everything looks pretty similar with a few little exceptions. But you can see we are definitely overdue. This has been, as I said before, the longest run and the least volatile run. There's been no blow off. There's been no parabolic action. No nothing. And when you divide it by M2 growth since 2022, we've only gone up 12% CAGR since that date. So it hasn't been very exciting. But one thing that is exciting is this. This is institutional demand. It outstrips new supply by 7.2x. The total numbers here, if I can zoom in a bit. The institutions have purchased, just so far year to date, the year is not over, 975,599 Bitcoin. And the amount of new Bitcoin that was mined, 136K, that's 7.2x. Shout out to the team at Bitwise for their great little charts. Really appreciate them. And another proof point that I've been saying now for a couple of weeks, the longest cycle ever, assuming it hasn't already peaked, it's just going to chug sideways. It is the longest cycle ever. And because of this, it could continue to go up. Remember, people talk about TA and cycles and everything else. The things that drive the market are money flow, macro. That's it. If there's no money and the macros poop, you're toast. We're going down. So we're going to get into some of the macro now too. Shout out to our friends in France. And I probably shouldn't have joked about this, but I did. I said they should sell the crown jewels to buy Bitcoin. Shout out to Archie. He said France considers bill to accumulate 2% of Bitcoin's total supply and establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve. That would be 420,000 Bitcoin. And I assign a 0.0% chance of this ever happening. France isn't actually up to it. It might be some fringe leader trying to make a name for himself, trying to copy others. I don't know. But one thing I can tell you, a nation state has already bought Bitcoin and more will follow. But it takes a lot of courage to take the type of step that Bukele and Saylor did. And that courage within political leadership is very few and far between. That courage in central banks is non-existent. But somebody one day will have the kahunas to do it. That I promise you. We'll see. Another little bit of crypto news before we pivot to AI. Bitwise Sol ETF launched today. We have our second big one. We've got SSK from Rex. And now we have Bitwise, who are, by the way, the team that put this beautiful chart together. They are a crypto native firm, asset management firm. And they already, within the first hour, had $220.86 million in their fund. That's why I'm supremely confident it's going to be a big week for Solana, even though the price is low. But that money, just like with Bitcoin, will have to find its way over to the asset when it comes in. We'll see again. Again, it takes courage not only to buy Bitcoin, but it takes even more courage to buy something that's even more complex than Bitcoin, like a layer one blockchain. But wait, we just have to wait and see exactly what happens. Let's talk about stocks, because AI is on fire. Although we normally talk a lot about on-chain and stuff in this video, but this is like what I said at the very beginning. This is the important time, okay? You may not feel it, you may not see it, you may not believe it, but this is a once in a lifetime, maybe once in the history of the world will we ever have a revolution like this. This is the AI revolution, the AI disruption. NVIDIA up 10.24% for the week. We'll talk more about them. Microsoft 5%, Google 5%, Apple 2.7%, Amazon 5.4%, Tesla 3.5%, Broadcom 6.5%. All AI is on fire this week. And tomorrow we've got some massive news coming. We'll get to that too in a second. Stock Fear and Greed, however, is disjointed from crypto at 50. Stock Fear and Greed is only at 41. And this is wild. We had Stock Fear and Greed at 20, at 30. And all the time was at these levels. It kept the S&P 500 kept on breaking new all-time highs. And everybody is still fearful. Again, this time is different. I've never seen that before. Normally when we're breaking new all-time highs, everybody's excited and bullish. Normally when markets tank, people are fearful. Again, weird stuff. Let's talk about some more good news. Risk on, friends. 98% chance they cut rates again tomorrow. And remember, there's $7.5 trillion in money market funds that will have to find a home. Part of it will, for sure. And that is more good news. More tailwinds for risk assets. No more you'll be able to milk your treasuries for 4%. You're going to have to get better return. If you're not getting 14% of the markets every year on average, you're drowning. I'll say that again. Now, tomorrow should be called Wednesday Fire, not my usual Friday Fire. Shout out to Amit. Does anyone realize that on Wednesday, FOMC meeting to cut rates, which they will, and then 2 hours later, Meta, Google, Microsoft all report at the same time. And if all three break, if all three get better than expected results, the market's going to be fantastic on Thursday. Be ready for that. It should be good anyway with the rate cuts, but more tailwinds, and still people are fearful. Oh, it's a bubble. Oh, we're all going to die. Well, we'll talk about bubbles now in a second. But before we do, NVIDIA, the leader of the charge, drops another billy in something else that I didn't even know was still alive. They put $1 billion into NOKIA. I thought NOKIA died 10 years ago. My bad. Anyway, thank you as well. You're amazing work. True, Sean. And oh my God, a lot of cool people here. Thank you, B-Man, Nick M, Angle Blackson, Swiper No Swiping, DBF 430, Bookhorn, and I'm far from done. Bluegrass, Stoic, Bitcoin Broccoli, Akonda, Half Viking, Akonda again, Snicker, Toasts, Mary Magdalene, Cybertruck Crypto. By the way, check out the accident I retweeted on Twitter earlier today. Shocking. You'll be happy to be in a Cybertruck. Vincent James, Alex Rogan, Peter McGee, and I'm Colt. Thank you all for coming. You're amazing. And I'm all fired up. Let me tell you why. This one, NVIDIA, again, another $1 billion into another company. They got so much money to burn, just throwing it everywhere. And I didn't know Nokia was still an example. Well, what exactly do they do now? I have no idea. No idea. Do they make phones or whatever? Who knows? Anyway, NVIDIA also partners with Palantir. Palantir is one of those key names of the future to help protect us. Yes, it's Big Brother and everything else, but it's going to be important in the future. And NVIDIA announces partnership with Palantir, and they're crushing every expectation by a mile. Incredible. But it's way more than that. Also, NVIDIA marked out their roadmap to new gigawatt AI factories. It was Elon that coined the phrase having these gigawatt AI factories. People thought he was nuts. Now, Jensen Huang is talking about the same thing. Also, NVIDIA will be using TSMC's new A16 chip processor. It's mad. I get so confused when I see A16, A16Z, like Andreessen Horowitz, and then you got AI6 from Tesla. It's like everything is A16, AI6. It's hard to keep on top of them all, but I'll try. Anyhow, one of the things about this new AI6 process, they using a new method, and I don't even understand it, something called backside power delivery. It sounds like somebody just had a bad curry. But anyway, this sends power through the back of the chip instead of the front. And this makes chips faster and more efficient. And again, we've heard Jensen talk many times about how it's about the output of tokens per power is the most important thing going forward. And their chip lineup has gone from Hopper to Blackwell. We're currently on Blackwell. Next year's Rubin. And then after that, a thing called Feynman, which will be 2027, maybe 2028. And that'll be the first built with A16 technology. I got confused already. And TSMC are the only people that can do this. And NVIDIA wants to be on the bleeding edge of this area. And in fact, Jensen came out and he gushed all over how impressed he was with our friends at TSMC. He said it's one of the greatest companies in the history of humanity. And to put things in perspective, by the way, just with a single year of NVIDIA earnings, they did as much as all of the investments that TSMC has made. And they only did that using 20% of the TSMC capacity. Again, we've never seen anything remotely like this profit machine in the history of this world. It's wild. And the demand is off the charts. The roadmap is off the charts. The things that are being achieved by this AI is off the charts. So if you don't believe, I'm probably not going to be able to convince you, but maybe these charts will. NVIDIA blew through $200 today. They are now 3% away from being a $5 trillion market company. A few weeks ago, they were the first company to hit 4 trillion. And here we are, nearly 5 trillion, just in a matter of weeks. A trillion here, a trillion there. Who really cares? And this puppy was at $88 6 months ago. This is not a bubble. They're trading at a P of like 32. Wild, even though P's don't make any sense. And Tesla's also screeching into new all-time highs too, being very, very strong. So congratulations to everybody. That's the same wedge formation that I shared on Cyber Bulls about 2 months ago. And it held true. I said, we're going to break out to the upside. And there we go, off to the races. But what's driving all of this? Well, Morgan Stanley, probably the best analyst on Tesla right now, they said FSD is now nailed. Autonomy is nailed. Autonomous cars are solved. And they talked about robots and energy storage and all the other good stuff that's coming back. They said nothing's going to hold them back. And he's now 100% sure it's solved. Elon said that too. So shout out to Jonas. Oh my God. I forget his name. Something Jonas. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, the point is everything's changing very fast. Be prepared. Have your seatbelt on. And make sure, even though crypto, maybe the bull run's not over yet, the AI run is going to be absolutely astounding over the next 5 years. Finally, meme of the day. I told him to buy Bitcoin. And he said his financial advisor advised him not to. Yes, people are frustrated with Bitcoin, but still, it has completely smoked all traditional assets. Unless, of course, you're talking about things like NVIDIA and other stuff like that. So anyway, all these videos are turned into Substacks, like we mentioned at the beginning. Nearly 30,000 people read them, and they're free, or you can pay 10 cents a day. It's up to you. The team is taken care of. A big shout out to the team behind me that makes this happen every single day. And I hope you learned something and got smarter. And I always want to say thanks once again to Sean D, T&D, K8, and everybody else in there. And I hope I didn't miss Avalanca and Jack Starman and I am Colt, BD McGee, Alex Rogan. Thank you all for coming in, friends. Hope you enjoyed the show. 25 minutes for 50 slides. Pretty good. Again, KPM, knowledge per minute. I have to share a new learning every 60 seconds, or else I'm not doing my job. Thank you all. Have a good night.